Abhishek, let's start. We can start now. We have enough participants.
Okay, I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll quickly introduce our speaker of the day. So everyone, welcome to this webinar, and thank you so much for taking out time and be present here. So today we have with us Abhishek Maurya, who is working with Wiz Labs and who is also a great AWS community builder. So we are very excited to start this webinar with all of you. Over to you, Abhishek.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can see me. It's a good day, and we are yet to begin our another webinar. And in this today's session, we will be learning about high availability and Bastion host in AWS. So the agenda of this webinar is you will understand the Bastion host concept. You will understand how to create a load balancer. We will see how to SSH into a private EC2 instance using a public EC2 instance, because private EC2 instances don't have the public IP, so you cannot SSH directly. You need to use public IP and go with the public instances. Okay, we will understand how to install and configure the HTTPD, that is Apache, to have a user data using user data in EC2, and also we will understand the WizLabs hands-on lab in depth. Perfect. So just to make you all aware that why this session is required, because in the upcoming sysops administrator in the upcoming AWS certified sysops administrator sysop associate exam, there will be hands-on labs which will be there. And so this is the main agenda, and the new version will be there to practice the stuff, and these labs do offer the labs to practice. And let's begin. So this is the architecture diagram of what we are going to see today. This is just a sample of how a user can access a Bastion host and the application load balancer having a web servers. Okay, so usually what happens in a traditional application, a three-tier application, is there is a load balancer, or there is a front end, what you call it as, which is acting as a public part which is accessible by the users. And then there are databases, or there are servers which are completely private, which a normal user cannot access. Okay, but the application itself can access. And when you want to do SSH and try to modify any stuff, you need to log in as a Bastion host, because these servers are completely private. Okay, so in this demo that we are going to learn, we will be using the following services. The very first is VPC, next one is EC2, then we'll go with Elastic Load Balancer, and more particularly Application Load Balancer, and we will use CloudFormation to create some of the stuff. So without any further ado, let's jump into the session. And these are the resources that we'll be creating, but I'll not focus here. I'll just show you how to create these resources. So in this lab, the lab name, you can just, if you have a WizLabs account, you can click on the My Courses, and all the courses will be listed. This course is part of four course, which is AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate and Professional, then SysOps and DevOps certification. So I can start any of the course from here and go to the lab section. And once you are on the labs, there will be a lot of labs present, out of which I'll be using Bastion host. Okay, so I can just do Control F and find the Bastion host lab and click on the start button. So once you start, if you notice here, you have redirected from wizlabs.com to play.wizlabs.com, and play.wizlabs.com is where I have our servers present. Okay, I request other co-host to let the participants in. Okay, thank you for that. Perfect. So now if you see, these labs are designed to do a real hands-on. So here you don't need your personal AWS account. You will be having a WizLabs fresh AWS account and you can perform the stuff. This lab is for 60 minutes. So we'll be here for more 60 minutes. And in case if I'm finishing it early, and I'll be taking over the questions in between. So if you have any queries, please put in the chat window. I'll take up from the chat. Okay. So let's begin. To start the lab, we will just click on the start lab button, and this takes 15 to 20 seconds to start the lab. So while this lab is starting, there are few resources which are getting created by CloudFormation. Okay. So as you know, as we discussed in the architecture diagram, that there will be a public subnet, there will be a private subnet, there will be a lot of resources that we are going to create. Okay. So if you see this part completely, there are two type of resources that this lab will have. First is resources created by CloudFormation, and second one is resources created by users, which is you. So CloudFormation will create definitely a CloudFormation stack, one VPC, one internet gateway, one NAT gateway, or two route table. One will be public and second will be private. Then comes the four subnets. There will be two public subnet and two private subnet and one elastic IP. Okay. This elastic IP is used when you are creating a NAT gateway. So if you are creating a NAT gateway, elastic IP will be there. And as a user, we will be creating a Bastion host EC2 and two web servers. As a EC2, we'll be using application load balancer. There will be a target group when you create a load balancer. Then there will be three security groups we will create. First is Bastion, which will have port 22 open. Then there will be load balancer, which will have HTTPS open, and the web server, which will have both SSH and HTTP open, but it will be restricted from the load balancer only. And there will be two key pairs we will create. First is for the Bastion, and second is for the web server. Okay, so we'll begin now with this lab. So this lab is already started, and once I click on the open console, so we can just follow along the lab. What these labs talk about. So this labs walk you through the steps to deploy a highly available web application, and you will be using your Bastion host to control the access to private underlying EC2 instances. Okay. So you can read about the Bastion host, high availability, and load balancer. And these are the tasks that we will be doing. Okay. So to start with, since I have already started the lab and clicked on the open console button, here I'm getting one small error which says your login is invalid. So you can just click on the logout button because there was a previously one AWS account was logged in. Okay. So you may often get this error. If you are getting this, just click on the log out your previous AWS account and start this account. So if you start, there will be a fresh page, home page present for you. And the first step is to check whether the CloudFormation stack is created or not. Okay. So quickly, we will go into the CloudFormation. You can access the CloudFormation by clicking on the services, and it's present under the management and governance category. But I have just recently accessed this service, so that's why it was present in recently accessed part. Okay. This webinar is also live on YouTube. So in case you are getting dropout or you are facing a network issue or could not able to hear me, don't worry, don't panic. You can still watch the recording at the end. Okay. So if I click on this stack, yes.
Abhishek, sorry to interrupt you. So I just wanted to tell all our attendees that if in case you are using your mobile phone for this webinar, please switch on to your laptops or your systems so that you can parallelly, get the experience of the labs by logging into your AWS account. Yes,
Perfect.
please continue.
Yeah, thank you, Sneha, for the information. So if you see, this is a stack which has a stack ID and the description written. But overall, what's most important is what all resources this stack has created. So there are 70 resources, 17 resources which this stack has created. And if you have ever created this, you will understand it creates in a way that all the services will be created and even the dependencies will be done. So it first created a VPC. Then it created a route table association because a route table is created, and then a public route table. So there's a public route table association that's done, and then few subnets and other stuff. So we will just quickly jump into the console, VPC console, to see these resources in action. So now I'm on the VPC page. Okay, yeah. So there are two VPCs present for my account, and the reason being is first is the default VPC, and second one is Bastion VPC. Okay, there is one more VPC present, and just remember that we'll be using a one VPC having 6 CFF or CFF as an ID. In case you are getting any other resources which are created in your account, no need to worry. This was created by the previous user and it will be deleted in some time. You can just ignore that part and proceed with your section. Okay. So this VPC has a CIDR of 30.0.0/16. So can anyone tell me how many number of IPs can be available with this VPC? Okay. So you can post your answers in the chat and you can reply to the participants. Okay. You can reply to me. Okay. So to calculate how many VPCs will be created, you can go to IPv4 addressing.com/CIDR, and here you can put your CIDR and get the range. So I'll just pick up this, copy this CIDR and paste it here to calculate. So if I put it here, the total number of IPs can be created is 65,536. Yeah, few people are right. They have written 2 to 16, which is correct. Perfect. Thank you for answering it. And now we will proceed with the lab. So the very first thing that we have to do is create a Bastion server. Okay, so to do so, we will go to EC2 console, and in the EC2, firstly we need to create one EC2 which is named as Bastion server, which will be present into a public subnet, because Bastion server is always created into public subnet, and we have to use this as a tag. So I will quickly start with creating my EC2 instance, which will be from scratch. So this is the launch instant wizard, where firstly we have to select which type of AMI I want to launch. So it can be Linux, it can be Windows, it can be Ubuntu, it can be anything, okay, which is present. So you can just click on the free tier only to select one of the free tier. And for this lab, we'll be going with Amazon Linux 2. And the second step is about selecting an instance type. Okay, so we all know T2.micro is eligible for the free tier. So I'll go with that. And here I need to change my VPC. So always remember we have a Bastion VPC. Everything is present as a step on the lab step part. Okay, so you can select, and then comes we have to select the public subnet one. Okay, so public subnet one is selected by default, and then I need to enable the IPv4 assigning. Okay, because that will be used to SSH into the EC2 instance. Okay, so the next step is to add the storage. So just leave this option by default, and the tag. So to add a key, you always add a name as a key, which will be shown when you are creating the EC2. And then comes the security group. Okay, so for creating the security group, create a new security group, and the security group name will be Bastion SG. Okay, so this is a Bastion security group, and I can just put the description as same for Bastion security SG. And then comes the SSH part. So we just have to go with the default one. This is SSH open to public. Okay, so again, this is launched, this is done, and there is no key pair. So I just create one key pair, and the key pair name can be Bastion key. Okay, a few users always have a doubt that if I do not use the name which is given on the console, is it okay? Yes, that is completely okay. It is only for you. Okay, so all the resources that I'll be creating, or probably the two keys, will be present on my desktop. So you make sure when you are downloading the key, it should be easily accessible to you. then you can click on the launch instances. Once you click on the launch instance, it will go into pending state, and from there this ec2 instance will take around 2 minutes to launch. Okay, so we can just wait for 1 or 2 minutes, let the instance be running. But since I have this lab of only 50 minutes remaining, I'll not wait here and I'll proceed with the lab. So the next step says create a security group for the load balancer. Okay, so first of all, we have understood in the slides only that there will be three security groups present. The first security group is Bastion security group, which is open to internet for SSHing it. Okay, and second one is load balancer SG, which is open to HTTP. Any user can do the HTTP. And the next one we will see. Okay, so I can just copy the name of this security group and go to EC2, and inside network and security you will find the option to create a security group. So I'll open in a new tab. For the accessibility, you can use this feature, just do a command or control to open the features into new tab, and I will put the name, and I can use the same as a description, and I will change my VPC. That will be a Bastion VPC, and here I have to allow with HTTP and source as my internet. Okay, so all the IPs will be able to access this. Okay, so once that is done, we will now create web servers. So we need to create two web servers, and these servers will be part of private subnets. Okay, perfect. So to create this, again, we need to select the Bastion VPC, and the architecture will be same, which is Linux AMI, and instance type is T2.micro. Okay, so I can just quickly click on launch instances, where I will select Linux as a AMI and T2.micro as an instance type, and then comes configuring the instance detail. So since web servers are in private subnets, we will select the VPC, which is Bastion VPC, and then select the private subnet. Okay, I think my previous EC2 instance was in private subnet. Let me just check. Oh, okay. So by mistakenly, I have launched them into private subnet. So what I will do is I will ignore that and create this as a new EC2, which will be present into public subnet one. Okay. So this thing always happen because on the steps, if you are not following the same, that problem can happen. Okay. So if you see this part is enabled, so that's how I got to know that when you're selecting a private subnets, you will have this option as disable. Okay, so I should go with public one and create this as a bastion. So I'll go with public, and I can use the bastion name which is present. Okay, bastion server. So now this is my new bastion server, where I can select the previously created security group, and now it will not create a security group. Okay, and I can quickly go and create the web server which is required. Okay, so here I have selected the Bastion VPC, and now I'm launching this EC2 instance in private subnet 1. Okay, so the next thing that we have to do is paste this user data. Okay, so I'll just paste this user data, and there are few unnecessary white spaces which are present. You can remove them manually. Okay, and this will install the HTTPD. So we'll just see one by one. The very first thing is the compulsory part of bash. So this is how bash scripts are defined. Then it will switch to sudo user, and then it will update the AMI or the machine, and then it will install the HTTPD. and then there will be a CTL to start the HTTPD and to enable the HTTPD, and then we will create a file called index.html, which will have this data request handling by server 1, and it will be placed into this location, which is /var/www/html, and this is the file name. Okay, so I will just go with default storage, and for the tag I will add name, and name will be web server 1. Okay, and this tag will be assigned to instance, volume, and network interfaces. So here it will be web server 1, and for SSH we have to use the security group of Bastion. So just go with Bastion SG, and for HTTP we have to use the security group of load balancer. Okay, so this is what mentioned in the step detailed, because we do not want this instance to be accessible directly, or although it will not be accessible because this is getting launched into a private subnet. And here I'll be creating a new key pair, and this key pair name is web server key. Okay, so always make sure when you are creating a new key pair, it will be downloaded once you click on the download key pair, and make sure to save it at a place which is secure and easily accessible, which is required for doing SSH into the EC2. Okay, now this also has been launched, and the name was web server 1. So I can switch to the one which is not having uh, ID of, okay, so this will be used to do the SSH and act as a bastion host. The previous one, this having 99, was by mistakenly created into a different subnet. Okay, so I can now follow the steps. So it says create a new one, which is web server 2. So follow that steps, and just we need to change the user data part, so that it is easily identifiable when we are creating a load balancer and navigating from there. Okay, so the architecture will be always same, but companies use a different type of EC2 instances for their different type of workload. So someone might use C.5 large because it is having 96 memory and 48 virtual CPUs. Okay, so if their load is high, they will use. Since this, we are just practicing it and trying to understand the concept. We will go with the smallest one, and this should be launched into public subnet 2. Sorry, private subnet 2. Okay, so I'll select private subnet 2. So be careful when you are creating any resources in private subnet. Make sure that this auto assign is disabled because this is using the subnet setting. And here I need to paste a user script. And if you see it correctly, we have the request handling by server 2. Okay, and previously we had request handling by server 1. So this is how we will be able to distinguish that request is coming from one or not. Okay, so I will again remove the white spaces. Perfect. So it looks great, and I can just go with the default storage. And for the name tag, I have to use web server 2. Okay, so I can use this from here, which will be 1, and I can just modify it to 2 and create a security group. Now for the security group, I can go with web server 1 security group. You don't need to create a new security group again, because these are the both having same EC2 instances. And make sure to select a web server key for launching this instance. Okay, so now it says you are unauthorized. Okay, so basically for this lab, we have restricted the users to 3 EC2 instances. Okay, that's why I have got this error. So what I can do is I can now install my AMI, where is my user data present. Okay, so I can modify my user data. For that, you need to stop the instance, or we can just go with one EC2 instance and understand. Basically, for the this part, it requires to create two EC2 instances. Okay, so in case you are a Vizlabs user, I hope you have performed it correctly till now. Okay, so if you see here carefully, we don't have the public IP for the private one because it is created into private space. Okay, I'll see if it is possible to terminate this. I think it will not allow me to terminate. Okay, great. So now this one is terminated, which was not required. Okay, and now I can create the web server too. Okay, so if you are having any issue like that, make sure that there are only number of resources created which was mentioned. Okay, I can switch my VPC and use the private subnet 2 and paste the user data of server 2 and go with the default storage, and for the tag go with the name of web server 2. For the security group, I can go with the existing security group and launch this. So while launching, make sure to have a web server key. I hope this time I will not get an error. That's great. Okay, so we are on the path, and now we can just quickly note down the IPs. Okay, so there are three servers running. First is Bastion server, which will be used to SSH into the web server 1 and web server 2. Okay, now we will create a load balancer, and the load balancer will be of type application load balancer with the name web application LB. Okay, so I will now navigate to load balancers. Always remember, load balancer is present into the EC2 console at the end. So you can click on the load balancers, and this will be the UI present. To create a load balancer, you can click on create load balancer and start with application load balancer. Give the name and the description required. Okay, great. And now switch to the VPC which we have selected, and now the subnets will be public subnet 1 and public subnet 2. So in both the availability zone, we have created one subnet which was created by cloud formation. Okay, and to understand the resources created by cloud formation, you can walk through the lab of subnets and VPC. That will give you more better understanding on that part. Okay, now for the security group, I'm choosing one existing security group, which is load balancer SG. And if you remember it correctly, I have made HTTP open to internet or world for this security group. Okay, so now configuring it, we'll now create a target group. So basically, target group is part of your place where you will define the instances which we are going to add, and also you will be having a health check. Okay, so health check will define whether your EC2 instances are easily accessible by the servers or not. Okay, and for that we need to put a path from where it will be accessible. Okay, so for the load balancer, you can just place the name as for name of your target group as web app tg. Okay, and target type will be instance because we have created two EC2 instances. And for the path, it will be index.html. And for the health check, if you see, I will be using it over the port. And to declare this instance as a healthy EC2 instance, okay, a load balancer will try to ping to this path index.html, and once it is successfully sending us a healthy response or this page is accessible for 5 times in a row, then it will be called as healthy. If it is unaccessible in 2 times, it will be called as unhealthy. There will be a timeout. Within that period, it should complete that, and there will be an interval. Okay, so we will modify this part little bit, and we'll go with the setting of 3 times to declare it as a healthy, and 2 times to declare it as a unhealthy, 5 seconds of timeout, and we will reduce the interval. That will make our time accessibility faster. Okay, and the success code will be 200. Okay, so the setting is 3 to 5, 10, and 200. Okay, so now you can now register your targets. So I'll be selecting my web server 1 and web server 2. Okay, that is according to the steps, and you can just simply click on the review and then create button. Now my load balancer should be created, and it takes around 3 to 4 minutes for this load balancer to go from provisioning state to available state. Okay, and there's a DNS using which you can access this application load balancer. Okay, so does anybody having any query? We can just quickly take it up. Okay, so there is a query from Sibu Jacob, and he is asking, what are the chain charges incurred with the AWS to deploy a highly available web application and Bastion host? Okay, thank you for asking that question. Okay, if you have a new AWS account, you can check out the things that you get with your free tier account. You can simply visit to aws.amazon.com/free, and from there you can see what all offer things by AWS to you. Okay, so there is a three filter present, or four filters present. First is the featured services, second comes your 12-month free, and then always free and trial. Okay, so the resources that we have selected for this is, okay, let me just go to the resources that was created, and we can just quickly calculate an estimated charge. So CloudFormation stack is always free. You just need to pay for the underlying resources that you are creating. VPC is free, Internet Gateway is free, NAT Gateway is not free, and it is not also a part of your free tier. Okay, because there is a Elastic IP attached to the NAT Gateway. Route tables are free and subnets are free. Okay, so this NAT Gateway, I think it is getting charged at $0.05 per hour. Okay, or there will be a more. And then EC2. So since I have selected T2.micro, and if you see this free page, you get 750 hours of EC2 of architecture, T2.micro or T3.micro. I have created T2.micro. Okay, so this is free. EC2 instances are free, and if I am terminating it early, that means I'm still under my 750 hours. So this three EC2 instances are free, and then comes the application load balancer. So let's go with the load balancer. So I can just search for maybe ELB or ALB. So if you enter ELB, okay, it is not present. Maybe ALB, it will be present. Okay. Uh, I think I can go with application. Okay. Uh, uh, okay. Load balancers. Yes, you can see 750 hours of classic load balancer and application load balancer is free. So your ALB is also free. Then security group and key pair is again a free resource. Okay, so you are only paying for the NAT gateway and the Elastic IP. So there will be not of much charge. I hope that answers your question. Okay, perfect. Thank you for answering that, Josia. And the next question is, what about the Elastic IP creation for NAT? There are charges. Yes, that is the only charge that you need to pay if you are creating this lab in your personal account. In case if you are using any other type of EC2 instance which is higher than T2.micro, you need to pay for that same. Okay, so let's go with the lab. I hope my load balancer is accessible from here. I hope this is into active state. Great. So I can just open this DNS of it, and this is temporarily unavailable. So to check if my EC2 instances are healthy or not, we can go to target group, click on the target group and see the targets. Okay, I did register them. Okay, so I will add them as a pending, register them as a pending. Okay, so it is now into initial state where it is trying to ping my EC2 instances. So till the time it will register this target, we will now learn how to do SSH. Okay, so I'm using MacBook Air. If you are having a Windows, you can use Putty. And to SSH, there is a support document which is given how to SSH into EC2 instance. So if you're doing it for the first time, for Mac users, you can open your terminal so that I'll be doing it. For Windows user, you can use Putty. You can download the Putty from this link and make sure to convert your key pair into .pem from .pem to .ppk file, okay, which is used for the Windows users. Okay, so there is a detailed guide given on how to do SSH. So since I have a Mac, I'll just go with starting my terminal. And if you remember it correctly, I stored my keys on my desktop. So there is a Bastion key and there's a web server key. Okay. So let's start with accessing my EC2 instance, and first starts with Bastion server. And to begin with, I'll click on the connect button, which gives me a lot of features. So first thing is to make sure that your key is not publicly viewable. We will change the permissions. So to do so, you need to just go with chmod 400. And if you can see this part, I think, yeah, it will be visible now. Okay, great. So if you can see this, I have my key pair with the extension of .cer, which is dot certificate. Okay, and for Windows user, I think it is getting created as .pem, and for Linux or Mac users, it is dot getting created with .cer. So I just need to switch to .cer, and then I can use this to SSH. Okay, and add this machine as a fingerprint. Just say yes. Okay, the permission is denied because again I did a mistake here. The key should be .cer. Okay, so these are the small mistakes which users are generally getting. And if you see this, now I have logged into EC2, where if I run who am I, which will say you are a EC2 user. Okay, so first switch to sudo user, which is the root, and then you can do the update and do whatever task you want to do. Since this is a Bastion server, we will be just using it for doing the SSH. Okay, so the very first thing, we need to create the key pair on the server. Okay, so we can use vi to do so. Okay. Always one more thing you can just notice here is when I'm creating a key pair on the server, so I'm using the standard .pem. Okay, and it will now open the vi editor. You can press I to go into insert mode, and there is a software called text edit in Mac, or there'll be a notepad for you from where you can open the key pair. Okay, so I will use this text edit to open the web server key. Okay, so this is now open, and I can paste it into my terminal via editor and press escape and then :wq to save this file. Okay, and the next job we can do is switch to my EC2 instance, cancel this part and go with any of the servers and click on the connect button. So firstly we need to again change the permission of the key. Okay, and then use this to SSH. Okay, so now if you see, we are able to SSH into the EC2 instance. Okay, so previously I had a IP address as 30.1 30.0.1.83, and now I have a IP of 30.0.5.130. Okay, and if you see this one, this EC2 instance web server 1, it does not has a public IP, which means directly you cannot do SSH. Okay, so this is a tunnel of accessing it from the web server to your from your Bastion host to your web server, and this is the private IP which is present here. Okay, so if I now go with my load balancer and open the DNS, it should be able to access the EC2 instances if my targets are healthy. In case they are not healthy, we need to troubleshoot. Okay, so my both of the targets are in healthy state. Okay, which means if I open the DNS of my application load balancer, it should redirect me to both of the servers. Okay, so you can see this request is being handled by server 2. If I refresh this, it is still using server 2, and now I have switched to server 1. Okay, so this marks the completion of this lab, and where you had to do SSH, and in case you are having any troubleshooting problem, you can manually install this on your web servers. Okay, since I have used the user data to install Apache, I did not get any problem, and I have checked the health of my load balancer, which says both the instances are in healthy, and I'm getting redirected to both server 1 and server 2. Okay, so this is the test case for high availability. What you can do is you can stop one of your EC2 instance, and if you see this, it has now gone into the unused state because this target was in stopped state. Okay, or you can perform any type of task that you want to go from here, and once your lab is done, to validate where you have done everything rightly or not, you can click on the validate button, and it should succeed. Yes, that's great. We have got a status as success, and it says you have created three EC2 instance. Two were web servers, and the one was Bastion server, Bastion host. Okay, and one load balancer, and you have done all the stuff which was required. Okay, so we have made this feature validate for our users to understand whether they have successfully created the lab and they have completed the lab or not. Okay, so if you're not following any of the stuff, like if you have not enabled the HTTP or SSH port here, you will get this as a failure. Okay, so I will just close this validation report, and now I will take the questions that are present. Okay, so if you have any query, please ask me in the chat, or you can simply click on raise hand button and I'll unmute you. Then you can ask me question one by one.
Yes, participants can unmute also. We
Okay,
have
we have
enabled that thing. Yeah,
okay. So we
feel
have
free to
made
unmute
you
yourself.
network. You can
Yes.
also start your video in case you have any query and want to interact with me.
Abhishek, hello Abhishek, Sant
Yes,
here. So what
Abhishek.
if anyone wants to perform these labs and if he is not a Labs user, are we going to give him the uh, enrollment for this specific lab?
Uh,
Because I think there may be a few attendees who don't have a Labs account. If they want to
right.
perform, then what happens in that
So
case?
okay, so you need to be a Labs user, and I see there is very less number of participants here. And the good thing about it is there will be a quiz, and the top five participants who are answering the questions right, they will be getting a free CSOPs course, video course, or practice test of their choice for completely free, and they can participate. Okay, so are we ready for the quiz? Participants can unmute themselves or they can post the answers in the chat window. You can optionally start your video also. Okay, so complete silence means always a yes, big yes. So now I will go back to the Q&A, and I see there is no question. So now I'm starting with the quiz. Okay, make sure to use the chat feature, and let me just modify the permissions so it is only visible to okay. So when you are sending your reply, uh, make sure you are doing it to host only. Okay, so I have changed the permissions. Okay, uh, for the time being, Sneha, let me make you the host so that you can easily finalize the winners.
Sure.
Okay,
Yes,
so
you all can share your answers to me. Luckily, I have the answer key, and yeah, I'll be choosing the winners.
okay, perfect. So we'll begin. I'll make my screen as okay. Let me stop my video also, and my screen will now go into the full screen mode, and each question will be shown to you for 1 minute only. Okay, so this quiz 5 questions, 5 minutes, and we are good to go. Let me just open the timer here with me. Okay, so the first question, what does Bastion host means? So Bastion host means you can access the public EC2 instances from private EC2 instances, or does it mean you can access private EC2 instances from public EC2 instances? Or the answer is both of the above, or it is none of the above. So you can send the responses to Sneha. The user will be known as visible to you as a VisLabs user, VisLabs team. Okay. We have 20 more seconds to go for this question. Either it is public from private or accessing private from public. Okay. So the time is 3 seconds, 2 seconds, one, and time is up. Okay. Sneha, how many responses have you got?
Yeah, we got responses from all of the participants.
Great. That's very great.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll now switch to the next question. Okay. Which of the following resources is not created when you are creating VPC? Okay. So which of the following resources will not be created when you are creating VPC? So alongside VPC, there are few resources which are created and there are few which are not created. Okay. So is subnet created when you are creating a VPC, or is internet gateway or is NAT gateway created, or all of the above are not created? Okay. So read the answers carefully, that it is saying which of the following resources not created when you are creating VPC. So is it subnet, internet gateway, NAT gateway, or all of the above? 20 more seconds to go for this. Okay, 5 seconds, and time is up. So, okay, we will discuss the answer at the later part. Okay, and now I'm going to third question. I hope you are ready. And here we go. Which of the following resource is required to create a NAT gateway? Okay, so when you are creating NAT gateway, do we need to create subnet? Do we need to create route table? Do we need to create internet gateway? Or do we need to create elastic IP in advance to create a NAT gateway? Okay, so for the creation of NAT gateway, what do we need to create? 25 more seconds to go for this. So we just discussed this. Okay, 10 more seconds.
The competition is getting really tough, I must say.
Okay, and time is up for this question. That's great to hear. Okay, so 3 questions are done. 2 more is remaining, and make sure in case you have done anything wrong, make sure to read the questions properly. Can go. Okay. So here goes the fourth question of the day. NAT gateway can be created in which subnet or in which type of subnet? Okay, so the answer can be private subnet, multi-purpose subnet, public subnet, or hybrid subnet. Okay, so when you are creating a NAT gateway, if you have understood the architecture of NAT gateway and the relation between NAT gateway and internet gateway, your NAT gateway should be present in which type of subnet? Okay, is it private subnet? Is it multi-purpose subnet? Is it public subnet? Or is it hybrid subnet? Okay, 20 more seconds to go for this. Okay, 5 more seconds. Okay, time is up now. I hope you all have answered it correctly. And get ready for the last question. And after that, we shall be able to declare the winners and we'll be taking a snap with all of you. Okay, so here it goes, the last question for the quiz of the day. And each participant will be getting a SysOps online course or practice test of their choice, any one of them. Okay, so the last question. What is the newly introduced elastic load balancer? Okay, so there are 4 type of load balancers present in ELB. First is classic load balancer, second is network load balancer, third is gateway load balancer, and fourth one is application load balancer. Okay, so this load balancer, the answer to this load balancer was it was launched in reInvent 2020. Okay, and 30 more seconds to go for this. Okay, okay, time is up now, and I hope you all have answered correctly for the quizzes. And now it is a time to declare the winner. Sneha, are we ready?
Yes, we are. Before that, I would request Abhishek you to, uh, announce the correct answers to each question.
Okay, perfect. So we'll start with one. Bastion host means accessing private EC2 instances from public EC2. Okay, so the correct answer was B, or the option 2. You need to access the private EC2 instances from public EC2 instances, which is called Bastion server or Bastion host. Okay, the answer to second one was all of the above. When you are creating VPC, not a single resource from this list is created by default. It only creates route table and your CIDR part, okay, with DHCP options and all are created. So none of the options are created. So the correct answer was all of the above. Then third one, which of the following resource is required to create a NAT gateway? And the response to this was Elastic IP. You need to allocate a Elastic IP in advance, or there's an option to directly allocate a Elastic IP. So the correct answer was 4, or option D. And next, NAT gateway can be created in which subnet? So NAT gateway is created in public subnet, okay, and it uses basically the route table of your private one, and it is added. Okay, so it is created in public subnet, and correct answer is C, or the option 3. And then comes the what is the newly introduced elastic load balancer. So the answer to this was gateway load balancer, okay, which is option C, or 3, response 3 present here. Okay, I hope you all have got this. And if you have any questions, you can now switch to host only. Sneha, can you make me co-host or change the permission so that participants
Sure.
can ask me questions regarding the quiz if they have? And
Yeah,
are you
sure.
ready with the winners?
Yes, yes, we are. So the winners for today are we have selected 5 users. First one is Rohit Sonavane. Second is Sanjana. Third winner for the day is Ankita Sharma. Fourth is Mahesh Salahuddin. And fifth winner for the day is Ravi in Goa.
Congratulations, all of you. You have done a really great job in answering the responses for this. You can now turn on, all of you can turn on the camera. Great.
Congratulations to all the winners. And those
Congratulations.
who didn't win, please don't hate me for this. We have more webinars coming in the next week and in the weeks after that. So you will surely win in those webinars. Okay, I think it's
Perfect.
time for a picture, group picture. So I would request everyone to switch on their cameras.
Congratulations to all the winners once again.
Yes,
That was a really great competition.
actually, it was very difficult for me to decide. I was getting responses so fast.
Great.
Ravi, Nehes, and yeah, Ankita is here. Okay, everyone is ready. We can have a picture. Okay. Yes. 3, 2, 1, cheese. Yes, we are good to go.
Thank you. Okay. Does anyone has performed the lab with me? I think you can now unmute also. We have given the permission to unmute.
Hello, sir.
Yes. Hi, Sanjana.
Hello, sir. I performed the lab, sir, with you.
Great. Great. Nice. And congratulations. I think you are under one of the winners.
Thank you, sir.
Perfect. Okay. There is one question from Ankita Sharma. Where you use NAT gateway. Okay. So in case you want to access internet for your private EC2 instances launched in private subnets, you can use NAT gateway for accessing the internet. Okay, so the use cases can be you want to patch your databases which are present in private subnets. You can use about that. Okay, so I think we are now for offer. So let me just open the offers part. Okay, I hope my screen is visible and we have a great deal for all of the participants of the webinar. And we can now turn off the camera and there you go. We have made a heavy discount for our webinar users. I hope this screen is visible. You can copy the code and you will get 40% discount on the courses using Wiz WHIZ MID 40 on all the courses and 30% discount on premium subscription using the course WHIZ Okay, this screen be shared.
Yes, we'll
Thank you,
be
Sneha.
sending this to you via email also. Yes, thanks, Abhishek. So we'll be sending the complete recording to you and also about the offers. So don't worry about that. In case you want to use this offer right away, you can go to the website and you'll find this offer there. Other than that, yes, we will send you the complete content. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. It was a it was really good to have you all here. Thank you so much.
Thanks to everyone.
If you have any questions, you can stay and you can unmute yourself and ask. And if you don't have, you can click on the leave meeting button and we'll meet in the next webinar very, very soon. Thank you, everyone.